Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Together with our friends from Redgate, we are going to show you today how to streamline database deployments with Flyway and Octopus Deploy. Now, I would like to introduce you to our speakers for today. I'll start with myself, but I'm only doing the introductions. My name is Madalina Yosif, and I am covering partnerships here at Octopus. And I'm joined today by Adam Close, who is our Senior Solutions Engineer, and by Huxley Kendall, Solutions Engineer at Redgate. Adam, Hux, welcome and hi.
Yeah, hi, thanks for a lovely introduction. Thank you, Madalina. Hi, everyone, thank you for joining. As Madalina said, I'm Adam Close, based in the UK. Senior Solutions Engineer here at Octopus Deploy. I've been here around coming up to 5 years in September, but I've been a long time user of Octopus before that as well. So I think I've been using the products now for around 9 years, and some Redgate products in my previous days. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be glad to hear that.
Always. Hi everybody, my name is Huxley Kendall. I'm part of the solution engineering team here at Redgate. So very similar to Adam. Just like Adam, I spend my days going around talking to different clients, talking to different companies, regardless of size, and trying to help them in ways that, just like Adam with the CI/CD, how can we help with the database development, deployment, whatever it might be.
Perfect. Thank you both. And now, before we go into the actual presentation, I wanted to give everyone a bit of background into the partnership between Octopus and Redgate. So this dates back to the very early days of Octopus Deploy, and ever since we've had a very, very close relationship, both at the leadership level and at the engineering level, to make sure that our customers get the best experience of the both solutions. What happened recently is that we ran a tour in 6 cities so far in the world. So we went to Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne in Australia. Then we went to the UK in London, and then to Atlanta and Chicago in the US. And we had the opportunity to run the presentation that you would see today, or I would say versions of this presentation, and then also discuss with hundreds of people who attended these events. Most of them are very happy users of Octopus and Flyway. Now, the feedback that we've heard from all the events was that people were really interested in seeing again this presentation or us sharing a recording. So we thought, well, it's a good opportunity to do this presentation online as well for those who want to see it again, to share it with their colleagues, or for those who were not present in the cities, just for everyone to have access to the information. So that's what we are doing today. If you're in New York, we will have another on-site event on August 21st. So please make sure to check either the Octopus website or the Redgate website under the events page, and you'll be able to register and join us. And with that, I'll shut up and let the engineer speak. So, Adam Hux, floor to you.
It's the great start. I was actually supposed to be at the London one, if you remember, Hux, and do this with you then, but I cancelled due to a prior engagement, so we finally get to do this. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Madalina. So to kick things off, I want to show you a couple of slides that I'd like you to remember, at the end of this presentation. So we've all been here. So take a look at the text message on screen. I don't know if you all got a text message from Mr. Zuck, but this scenario of remember the virtual bookstore that was added to the metaverse last month. Yes, you as a developer or the DB, absolutely. I need to add a new category of books. We're going to launch our first audio and VR underwater basket weaving. By the way, I need it to be deployed today. We've all been in this situation, and I kind of want you to remember and think about during the next 55 minutes is how would you solve this? You might have some tools already, but yeah, have a think of how you would solve this. And me and Hux are going to come back to this towards the middle of this session and show you how we would fix this or deliver this with Octopus and Redgate and Flyway. If you can move on to the next slide, please, Madalena. And then, if you remember anything from this session, from me, remember this picture. Every organization has their own special pipeline to deliver, what we've just talked about in the last slide, and these can, to be distilled down. This pipeline can be distilled down to plan, develop, build, deploy, and host. And our argument is deploy is not solved, and in particular, deploying databases is not solved. And we're going to show you how Octopus Deploy and Redgate solve complex database deployments. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. So we've got some fun stuff today. We really want to kind of split it into 2 acts, if that's what you want to call it. Act 1 being a bit more slidey. We want to really show to you where is the value in Octopus Deploy, what it is that they do, how do they do it, and why should you care? And then what is the value and what do we do at Redgate? What can we help you with there? Because there are a big difference between the 2 of us. We think that we are both, and we know that both of us separately, we are really strong. We are amazing at what we do. The second act is then going to be, okay, well, how do we come together? How do we actually, what does that look like in production, in practice, implementing both Flyway and Octopus Deploy? What's involved, and how would we, going back to that text from Mr. Zuck, how would we actually want to handle that? What are one of the ways that we could help you out? So a little bit of context, a little bit of demo, should be really good fun. Awesome. And just like I said, I am representing Redgate. If you don't know who Redgate are, we've been doing this for 25 years. And when I say this, I mean end-to-end database DevOps. When we talk about database DevOps, we know that the value is there. We know that it can provide what it is that you guys are looking to do. And we've been working with these companies for the last 25 years, building different tools, trying to help you if you're looking to improve your speed to market, if we want to standardize the way that you do database development, deployments, provisioning, anything with that. We've been navigating the sort of database landscape for the last 25 years with amazing people like you. And we've been doing pretty well at that. And we sell, and the important part from this slide, it's not really meant to be a brag. Look at how many people we sell to. It's more meant to be what we can sell to anybody. We sell to 91% of companies in the Fortune 100. So 91% of those companies have our tools invested, implemented, and are seeing a value and an ROI on those tools. But we also sell to really small companies, medium size. We are equipped to help you out. If you look at your practices and it comes to a database, if there are issues with that, we want you to know that we can support you. And the way that we break that down when we talk about end-to-end database DevOps is with this graphic right here. And I think that graphic's really, really important, because what we're showing here is, well, it's the entire life cycle of your databases. And you can pick whatever stage you want to start here with. It's, okay, well, maybe I already have a database in production and I need to be able to monitor it. I need to be able to see the health of it. Where do I need to put DBAs? Where do I need to fix anything? Do I need to re-index? Can we help you get a clearer view into your estate to work out what is going on? So instead of it just being firefighting, we can improve how reactive you are, but also improve how proactive you are. We then, so we find that issue in production, but we want to be able to support every part of that journey. So once I know what's wrong, I need my development team to make some changes. I need them to make scripts and have a development area. So provisioning off of production. If you have a 6-month-old copy of production, the quality of data, quality of schema, the quality of release is going to be lower. So helping sanitize, helping provision, virtualize, we help that. Once you've got your environments, can we help you develop? Can we help you, give you the point tools that allow for you to have telesense, better version controlling? Once you've version controlled, can we help you generate scripts? Once the scripts have been generated, can we help you release them back to production? And you notice that infinity loop kind of loops back on itself. So we're really proud of the fact that we have solutions end to end. What we don't have is what was on this slide, is someone that can help us actually elevate that and maximize the effectiveness.
Yeah, I'm back in my days of doing database changes, Huxley. It was a case of somebody had a shared database somewhere that we'd all take a copy from, have some scripts in a notepad file. And then when we did the actual application upgrade, we got the scripts from a notepad file from a shared drive somewhere and then executed them and kind of hoped the databases matched up. So we've certainly come a long way since I was doing that.
Yes and no. And then, you still see people that do similar to that. And I speak to them and they'll say, oh, well, okay, how long does it take you to find that file? How long does it take you to version control? A couple hours. How long does it take you to write straight up to a couple hours? And I'm like, you're doing that every deployment? That's like 5, 6, 7 hours wasted per deployment. So it's come a long way, but
yeah, exactly. Exactly, especially at scale. But yeah, sorry, I distracted us there. So yeah, let's talk quickly. Who is Octopus Deploy? Why do we exist? We were founded in 2012, and we enable organizations to deliver great continuous delivery metrics. We have a global presence, 4,000 plus customers. Some really cool stats over on the right that you can see, 150 million plus deployments to date. And the reason why I like to show this slide is just to show you that we are trusted globally to handle software deployments, database deployments at scale. So yeah, on to the next slide. Oh, you beat me to it, Madalena, thank you. So where does Octopus fit in the DevOps toolchain? So this is a typical pipeline and toolchain that we see here at Octopus Deploy. So a dev writes code, CI server kind of handles the build, the testing, and the packaging of your binaries or your container image. And from there, Octopus picks those changes up, or those packages and database changes, and deploys those to all your environments. Whether that's dev, test, staging, QA, and production, and no matter where your application is hosted. So, if you're hosting your applications in VMs, Windows or Linux, PaaS services, Azure Web Apps, Lambdas, all the way through to container-based deployments like K8s, Kubernetes, ECS, or Azure Container Services. And Octopus's mission is to simplify and fix the problem of complex deployments, because our argument at Octopus is that complex deployment is not a solved problem. And again, I mentioned on the previous slide, complex deployments of the application. Same goes for database deployments as well. And why do we want to fix this problem? Show of hands in the chat if anyone's familiar with DORA. But DORA metrics is a way of measuring the performance of DevOps teams and the ability to push to production. So we want to fix the complex deployment problem because we want to do better with these 4 metrics. We want to increase the deployment frequency, so how often an organization can push releases or packages to production. We want to decrease lead time for changes. We want to decrease the failure rate. And for me, probably the most important thing in especially in any organization is reduce time to install services, because it's great getting new features out. Customers love to see your product evolve and get new features, but one thing that kind of sometimes gets overlooked is how quickly can you bring your services back online if it's an issue. If there is a security vulnerability found in your application, how quickly can you deliver that security fix? So for me, the last one there on the slide, reduce time to restore services, is extremely important, because sometimes at the end of the day, when those services down, it does cost the organization, financially and the reputation as well. And some real world kind of impact that Octopus has made. So we surveyed a whole host of customers, and before Octopus, 25% of customers we surveyed deployed only once per month, and afterwards that figure turned into 75%. So 75% deployed more than once a week. Whereas, and also 41% deploy more than once a day. So going from once per month to once per day, it's a great impact. And also, 91% of those people surveyed felt an increased confidence in deploying to production. Because I've certainly been in that position where it's late on a Friday, I want my weekend, and I'm too hesitant to push that deploy button. So to give developers that confidence is great. And then next is kind of efficiency. Efficiency is key. Before Octopus, 10% completed deployment within 15 minutes. After, 84% completed within 15 minutes, and then 57% report that they get real feedback from production users and customers much faster.
Boom. Sweet. Let's talk some products, because who doesn't want to? As I mentioned, Redgate, we have a whole host of solutions. So if you look at your day-to-day and you think, okay, I need some help being more reactive, then we have the leading market tool for monitoring. We have the leading tool for provisioning environments. If you want to get 5 terabytes down into dev, we can do it at 50 megs, no degradation, amazing. But where we are so amazing and so great next to people like Adam, Octopus Deploy, is with Flyway. Flyway is our singular tool that we use and we have created for anything around the automation of database deployments straight from the beginning at development. So if I make a change at development, how do I get it all the way to production with one tool? And we did a load of market research, and we found that in 2021, just 22% of organizations were achieving continuous delivery across all projects. 2 years on, we've seen that more and more organizations are realizing the benefits. So 3 years on now, are realizing the benefits, and they're trying to get that fully automated. They're trying to left shift. So I'm here today to show you how you can solve these difficult database deployment problems with the implementation of something like Flyway, alongside an amazing tool like Octopus Deploy. So we did, and this is a really important slide for 2 reasons. One, everybody should know, and this is the director of data and DevOps at ThoughtWorks. Data is an integral part of any value for an enterprise, and the delivery has to be enabled by DevOps practices. If you're not sold on DevOps, hopefully you are. If you're not, call me out and we can talk about it afterwards. I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours why DevOps is so important. But being able to left shift and not have your database as a bottleneck is going to have massive implications. And I think Adam had kind of touched on it before with what the benefits of Octopus do is, well, if I can deploy 50% faster and save 2 to 3 hours worth of manual work, all that value that Octopus has just saved you, I can put back into my deployments. If I have to deploy on Friday, and normally it takes me a week, but instead it takes me 2 days, I get 3 more days to think about value, to think about more testing, to make sure that it's going to deploy, to make sure that my customers see value. So the fact that only 51% across the board in our state database landscape have actually implemented some kind of semi-automated deployments is really, really shocking. And the reason for that is it's hard. We then went to fully automated, and that went down to 28%. So we know that it's hard. and we have Flyway. What do we do to try and make that a little bit easier? Well, we came up with a couple of solutions. The solution of Flyway is trying to do just these 3 things for you. If I can get these 3 things in for you, I'm going to be happy. Faster, smarter, and most importantly, more reliable database deployments. That's the key. Making sure that I don't have to have DBAs reading off Notepad, tracking scripts by hand, knowing that my developers have a tool set to support them, find their changes, and write the scripts for them. It's going to mean I can deploy faster. It's hopefully going to mean I'm deploying much smarter. But that trust and having a reliable release process is really, really key. Team collaboration should go up. If me and Adam are both developers, in that scenario he explained, which I see all the time, of one shared database, putting it in SharePoint, having files, me and Adam can't collaborate. We can't actually come together and make our changes and work out what's going to be best and share them. And the cost of that is that my costs go up. It means I deploy slower. I have more bugs. Customers see more value. So if I can get team collaboration up with good version control, that's going to make me happy. And then compatibility with existing processes and tech stack. It's key. Yes, Jonathan, good question. I'll show you that in the demo. But stuff like that, it feeds into it, which is why we have tool sets. If people are making changes outside of a deployment pipeline, in the manual approach that Adam said, he said it himself, we kind of just hope that the environment's synchronized. If I write a script on development, I hope that development is a good reflection of production, and I God hope that what I'm deploying into is going to be ready for those changes. If they're not, in a manual approach, it's really, really tough to know that. With something like Flyway, because we give you all of these tools, and you'll see it slightly later on, we give you the comparison, we give you the command line, we've taken into account that changes might be made. We call that drift. We have our own little buzzword for it. It's got its own command inside the Flyway CLI to detect for drift, and we can give you sort of snipper tools that can actually remove drift if that's what you want. So I'll show you that in a second, Jonathan, but really good question, because that's what feeds into it. Why choose Flyway? It's not because creating a table, writing a script for it, and running it against the database is hard. That's pretty easy. But when I need to scale, when complexity scales, when I have multiple teams working on environments, when I potentially have drift, when my complexity increases, suddenly what was working last year manual has no chance of working today. So why choose Flyway? It is the industry's only end-to-end database automated testing and deployment solution. From the beginning of development all the way to production, we have the comparison engine, we have the drift checks, we have the ability to deploy to production, we have the ability to roll back. We also have accompanying solutions. Jonathan, you had mentioned what if someone makes changes outside the deployment pipeline? Well, with our provisioning tools, you could actually provision off of production and develop off a day-old copy of production, and you would find that drift instantly. So having end-to-end is really important for us. Script generation, really key. Flexible and scalable, which is going to give you a lower barrier to adoption. This is so important to me because I speak to people all the time and say, yeah, the tool looks great, but it's going to take us 6 months to implement. Then I've got to left shift it and get it working alongside Octopus Deploy, and that's going to be really hard, and this is going to be really hard. No, this should work for one person. It should work the same way for 1,000 people. It should integrate with Octopus. Simple. We've got documentation. We have everything we need. And finally, that ambitious roadmap, which is really important to us. Complexity is where it is right now. Next year, me and Adam, we don't know what's going to be complex about databases. We don't know what's going to be complex about deployments. But you can trust the fact that Redgate are going to take into account the complexities and industry trends for the databases, the same way that Octopus Deploy take into account how I need to deploy. Integration and compatibility. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Integration and compatibility. This is really, really key. And we left them all up. But again, we don't care who you work with. We love Octopus. We think they're great. We hopefully show you the value. And I recommend Octopus to everybody. If you want to use Octopus and TeamCity, if you want to use Octopus and Jenkins and Git, if you do SSIS, if you do SSRS, if you do application deployments, I don't mind. I generally don't mind. We don't mind. It's an open CLI. We will help you use it, but you decide how you want to use it.
Yeah, no, sorry. There's one thing you touched on there, Huxley. You mentioned rollbacks there. When we talk about complex deployments, rollbacks always creeps in there. And the question I always get asked, with Octopus, can you roll back easily? I always say, yes, you can roll back your application to the previous version fairly simply. You click a button on a CLI command, it's going to roll it back. Now, the tricky thing is, what if you've rolled out database changes and data changes? That's where then a deployment rollback becomes really complex, because you can't roll back the application if you've changed the database and people are using the new fields. So I think when Flyway make that thing easy, thinking about deploying to production, if something does go wrong, if you're able to roll back with Flyway as well with Octopus, it takes the complexity away from a rollback as well. Oh, cool. So yeah, I'm going to kind of take you through a little bit more of kind of why Octopus. So if you just kind of jump onto the first slide, Adelina. So basic deployments, they're straightforward. A dev writes some code. It's got a script that deploys it to some single platform and to a single customer. The journey is smooth and uneventful, and we can see how our DevOps engineer smiling right now. But complex deployments with databases are hard. So once a DB is in the picture, complexity starts to creep in. You've got schema changes, migration changes, data consistency to worry about, not just across multiple environments of dev, test, staging, production, but also multiple customers and multiple regions. You might have some customers running in the US, some running in the EU, and you've got to keep these databases and applications aligned. So, at this point, our smooth path now has bumps and considerations to make. And this can only get harder as you grow and scale. So here we've got deployment growing pains, results of scaling. All of a sudden you have a maze of dependencies, multiple customer environments. I was just talking about it then. When you've got not only one production, you've got production in different data centers. You've then got a risk of configuration drift. But scaling causes multiple layers of complexity. And ultimately, this leads to, if you remember, we talked about the dollar metrics about, we want to increase deployment frequency, reduce mean time to recovery. When these complexities start to creep in, we get the inverse of dollar metrics. That's the one thing we don't want. Okay. But great news. Octopus simplifies the complexity of the pipelines. It manages the dependencies. It manages all your databases deployments in one central location, and not just database deployments. Octopus takes care of day two as well. So when I say day one is deploy your database migration changes across your environments. What about things like, I need to back up a database, I need to restore a database from production into test? Octopus is taking care of that all in one place with the help of Flyway. Octopus makes it possible for you to scale not only your application deployments, your database deployments as well. So then, kind of going back to this slide, hopefully it's clear now where Octopus and Flyway fit in your DevOps toolchain and the problem we are trying to solve together.
Boom, sweet. Let's do something more fun but more risky, because it's all well and good. We can say, Flyway is great at this and Octopus is great at this, but just like Jonathan said in the chat, it's about seeing it, and Jonathan's seen that visibility. He's seen it, and people fall in love with it when we let them see it. So let's go through, why is Flyway and why is Octopus, from my experience, man's experience, why is it the best option? So if we go back to that text, we all hate it. It's horrible text, but it happens super regularly. And Adam has said to you, you know, let's try and think about your current procedure, both deployment in terms of CI/CD and managing that database code. How would we actually go about that? How quickly can we get developers to be on an environment they need, make the changes they need to make, and push them, share them, do whatever they need to do? So this is what we're going to show. So before I sort of touch on that, there's two ways you can look at this. It's the manual approach for how we would do that. And the manual approach can be very difficult, but there are key points throughout that. If I'm manual, I'm having to make my changes and manually source control. That can take a long time. And depending on how bothered I am, I can either sacrifice visibility or I can sacrifice speed. But if I'm doing it manually, it's hard to get both together well. Once I've made those changes, I have to think about, well, how am I going to forward deploy? I need to write these scripts. If I'm writing scripts by hand, I'm bringing in another complexity. What if Adam's already wrote a script for my script? What if Adam wrote a clash? What if I'm not a very good SQL developer and I don't write the best changes? How quickly do I find out? If Adam's my DBA and I just start handing him hand-wrote scripts that just don't hit the mark that they should do, I might not find out for a day, 2 days, and I have to bring that back into development. So even if I write the script by hand and it's perfect, I've still wasted a lot of time getting that right. Once I wrote the script, am I tracking that release by hand? Am I, you know, if I've got 5 QAs, a couple test environments and 10 production environments, how do I know where each of these scripts have and haven't gone? Visibility is really hard. So what we want to show to you is how super simply I can make changes, visibly find my changes and source control them. How we can generate migration scripts both forward and backwards, super simple. Have the Flyway CLI be able to track that actual release of those scripts, and how we can couple up with Octopus Deploy to hit all of that automation, all the deployment needs that we need in terms of actually deploying. So we're going to risk it all, because normally when me and Adam do this, we are sat next to each other, but Adam decided he didn't want to come see me today, so he's doing it virtually. So I'm going to do a lot of it on my screen. We're going to pass over and Adam's going to show some stuff. If anything breaks, because we're on 2 VMs, everyone just go, oh, that looked really great. And that'll be really good. So
yeah, you know it's a live demo if it breaks.
Yeah. Also, I don't like doing recordings of demos anymore. If it breaks, it breaks, and we should be able to share. So yeah. What I am going to do is entire screen 1, share. I think I need Melania to, there we go. Sweet. I can see it twice. Cool, that's fine. Right. Everyone who's not in presenting, can someone just let me know they can see my screen? Just want to make sure before. I've done it before and I've done a 20-minute demonstration and nobody saw what I was doing. Hoping that somebody can. I'm going to go ahead and go forward in just a second. Sweet. So, thank you. Awesome. We're at the very beginning. We don't have scripts made. I'm at the very beginning of development. This is what's key for us. When we talk about Flyway and we talk about Octopus together, it should be the only solution that we need. When I'm talking about databases, I've got Flyway. That handles any and all complexities, anything I need to do, from making changes to source controlling changes to actually being the tool that deploys the script CLI in itself. So once I've done that, how do I then generate the scripts? How do I push them? So how do we don't see the application. You're good, Madalena. I think I'm good. Adam, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, see the desktop at the moment.
Yeah. So let's start by making some changes. And the benefit of this tool is currently we have full technology support for MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server, and Oracle. We have an EAP for Snowflake, Mongo. We also help deploy scripts to another 51 plus DBMS types. So if you want to use Octopus, if you already use Octopus, if you need to deploy to any of those database types, we have something that we can give to you. And where I'm going to start is on a personal dev environment. I have a local host MySQL DB right here. Me and Adam, your role is going to change quite a few times in this, so be prepared. Me and Adam right now, we're both developers. I have an environment, Adam has an environment. Distributed environments, that's what we want. That's really key, because distributed environments, and again, one thing you'll notice is distributed environments and a manual approach can be really hard. I've now got 2 dev databases I have to source control off. If Adam does a bad job of it, great, he's going to break my environment. If I do a bad job of it, I'm going to break Adam's, and the DBA is going to have a go at me. So we support any and all workflows. And it's really key to me that when we're showing this, and I think Adam will reiterate this, this is one way that we can help you. When you come to us and you say, this is my needs, this is what I want to do, we can rechange this. We can do deployments completely different to support your needs. So all I'm going to do is on my local Octopub dev is make some kind of changes. And like I said, for GitHub, for Oracle, for MySQL, for Postgres, for SQL Server, there is no changes that we cannot handle complexity-wise. For MongoDB, the JDBC driver is a part of the install, yes. And if you're having issues with that, on the Java side, we have containers that we can give to you in terms of Docker that have their own Java configuration. So there's often a lot of ways that we can go about it. I'm simply going to make a new table. And Adam told me off last time because I forgot that Mr. Zuck asked me to make some changes. So I'm going to make sure I do that this time. So we're going to go and we're going to make underwater VR. I'm going to come in, I'm going to make some new columns. We will call this book name. We want to have something for probably unit price. We also probably want something like stock. I'm going to persist because this is MySQL. I'm also going to come in here, and really key is potentially just edit a table as well, because I want to make sure that it's not just new changes, but also am I able to alter something that has relationships, dependencies. So we're going to come in here and we will add an address of my auditors. The important part for me is, and I kind of do some basic changes here because I don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes making partitions or whatever it might be, but I need to do. The important part is here, we can support the changes we want to make. And we will give you a trial to let you see that we can support the types of changes that you want to make. The simple part is developers, they don't have to worry about how it's going to version control. They don't need to worry about how it's going to deploy. If you use cross database and you have synonyms, they don't need to worry about plugging that in each time. They simply make their changes, because the important part for the development side is, well, how much time can I save them? Because right now, version control takes 20, 30 minutes, maybe longer. Is the visibility there? If the visibility is there, not there, Adam is a DBA, he's got a way harder time. I then spent hours and hours and hours writing these scripts. I want to save everyone time and give them a repeatable, reliable process. So I make my changes. When I'm done, I move away. What we have is a Flyway desktop tool. This is installed per developer. They don't have to use it. The GUI is here to support them. So when I deploy, Adam and his Octopus setup, way better than doing it in click, click, click GUI. But if I'm a developer, visibly seeing my changes before I commit them, that's really important. So how easy can it be? Well, as I mentioned, me and Adam, we are both developers and we're on separate environments. And you'll see here, I've got some for MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, Oracle, there's Mongo here. It's the same UI, same process, same YAML, same Octopus deploy pipelines, regardless of DBMS type. I'm on Octo MySQL. I want it, when I click in, to load my project settings and remember personally, for me, where am I developing? If my database is different than Adam's, where is mine? So I don't want to tell it every time what I'm doing. That's the worst. So it finds my 2 changes on my dev database straight away. It knows exactly where to look. I can click in and I can see that it tells me, hey, this is what I've got in version control, and this is what I see in your dev database. So there's a couple differences here. So I have two options. I could, for instance, overwrite the project in version control with my changes, or I can apply them to the database. So it says to me, hey, this is what I've got in version control right now. What I don't have is this new address column. Same again for underwater VR, except this time it's never version controlled a table like that. So if I'm a developer, my input to this should be refresh, find my changes, save the project. Done. That's it. I shouldn't be messing around with version control. I shouldn't be manually writing scripts. It should be a case of I find my changes, it source controls my changes with the built-in version control right here. If I want, I can go onto a new branch, whatever branch strategy you have, that's what works for you. We can also simulate going backwards. If I look at Octopub Dev and I look at tables, I could, for instance, come in and I could edit one of these tables. I could do a code first approach if I really want to. Any changes that I make will also be reflected going backwards. So in a pretty easy scenario, I could just delete that table, drop it out of version control, and when I go for refresh, it's not only going to show me changes. I might regret deleting that file so bravely. It's not only going to show to me, hey, by the way, here are some changes that I made, but also here are changes that I think you're missing. It's actually, well, Adam decided to get rid of that table. So I can say, all right, well, apply it to my database and make my dev database match the schema model. The important part is here, if I'm a developer, this should be so simple. It should be click, click, done. They should know what the process is. They should feed into it. They shouldn't be doing anything more. What we also have is what we call a hybrid approach. This right here, really key for developers. It's what we call a state-based. This is the state I have in version control. This is the state you have in your dev environment. That's great for developers. It lets them see the differences they made clear as day. What's not so great in a state-based approach is how we deploy. I don't like doing state-based deployments. I don't like deltaing production and QA and test and generating these scripts and hoping they're synchronized, and it doesn't help me anything. When we left shift the application deployments, it's even less useful. I need set versions and I want to be able to see what happens. So Flyway also tracks every version. This was version 1. This is what your database looked like when I first saw it. And then here are all of the scripts to do each of those different alterations. So if I took an empty database and I deployed from 1 all the way to 1.18, my latest script, it's going to stand up schema-wise what production should look like. And Jonathan, I know your question is going to be about drift, and I'll come back to that in just a second. But this is what's inside that pipeline. So I could have 20 developers all contribute changes, just like you saw with one click, and one person can click generate migrations. And it's going to do exactly what I just said to you. It's going to take all of the scripts in that project that is already used and created, and it's going to deploy them into an empty database. And it's going to give your developers a chance to see, hey, this is what I have when I deploy all of my scripts. And this is what I have in version control. So here are all of the differences between them. Here are all of the changes that your developers have made and contributed that I cannot yet recreate in this pipeline. It says to me, when I looked at your script, I did have an auditors table, but again, it didn't have this address. And you remember, I just deleted the audit, so it thinks it wants to get rid of audits. I have the choice of what goes into my next script. 1, 2, 3. Adam decided to go rogue and drop audit. I don't think he meant to do that, so I'm going to leave it behind. I have the choice, generate scripts. And what it will do for me is save my dev team hours per deployment, not only writing these scripts, but I can trust that this is going to pull in my dependencies. I can trust that it's going to be in a set standard every single time. And I know that these scripts are going to work because the tool tests the script at the point of generation. So it creates my tables. It then alters my tables last. I can add a description, call it webinar. And even if you don't like a rollback, you prefer a fix forward approach, which I don't know what you think, Adam, but I am more of a fix forward kind of guy than I am a rollback kind of guy. But regardless, having these rollback scripts auto-made for you means that in case you do need to do this, this is something that we can give to you. Mike, you're absolutely correct. This is an enterprise feature of oh, hell yeah. I don't know how you did that. Yes, it is an enterprise feature. It's an enterprise only feature. So what we do have is teams. The only enterprise feature you're seeing here is script generation. We can still do the schema model version control for you. That's built into Teams. That's there. What we expect you to do in Teams is click this button and click Add Migration and supply your own migration scripts. So we expect you to do that, but once you've done that, you'll be straight back to where we are in Enterprise, which is all of the scripts collated together, including, if I hit save, including the newest script that we had just wrote, version 1_19. So we're back with you, Mike. If you're on Teams, you're straight back with us, because what we do next is we track the release of every single one of these scripts, regardless if we wrote them or if you wrote them, for every single one of your environments. So what we have, if we look at Debeaver, is we have a Flyway schema history table. This is created in every database that we deploy to. And it says to you the installed ranked, the versions. So if I ping my dev database, Flyway knows instantly if you have 1 or 1 million environments to deploy to, which scripts have been deployed, which scripts haven't been deployed, and how do we deploy on the next one. So Adam has mentioned, you know, Octopus is great at going to thousands of domains, giving you that complex deployments. If you deploy to 1,000 and some's at version 1, some's at version 10, some's at version 20, Octopus will do the full automation and Flyway will do the math to work out what each database needs. Right before I pass to Adam, because I'm taking up a bit of time, we give Octopus Deploy all of these commands to run: migrate, undo, to roll forward, to roll back. If you want more control, we have 80 or so parameters, one of which is called cherry pick, letting you choose the scripts. One of which is called target, letting you set a target version in mind. We have baseline, clean, validate, that let me test my scripts. And really important for you, Jonathan, check. Check my code for code analysis. Check my deployments for what they're going to change in this next deployment. Show me drift. Is something in a database that shouldn't be there? If so, help me get rid of it. And dry run. So I take all of that value, and what I do is I go to version control. I go to commit. I go on the branch that I want. This commit message might break your pipeline. So if it does, commit and push. I've handed the scripts to the DBAs. I am done. Happy, super simple. Flyway. Sorry, Adam, I'm not giving you as much time as I was hoping. Are you okay to take on from
No,
there?
it's fine. I'm going to do a blue P moment. Here's what I did earlier and save, get us a little bit of time back. But no, that's cool. Yeah, I'm going to zoom in a little. So I think, yeah, hopefully that's visible. Right now, I'm in GitHub. You know, we can see Oxley just checked his changes in source control. That's the most important part here for us. How do we then get those scripts and migrate and run those scripts against dev, test stage, and production, and all our production environments? So when something is checked in, I've got a GitHub action that runs, builds these SQL scripts into a package, and Octopus is going to migrate that. So I've done one. I've done one a second ago, or using one from earlier, just to save a little bit of time. So we can see I have a GitHub action that's running. That's ran now. Essentially, what this GitHub action has done is created a zip package of all the migration scripts and the one that Huxley just did. We pushed those packages over into GitHub, into Octopus. I did have a question on LinkedIn about this, whether Octopus could source the script directly from Git. Not right now. It's a great idea, but right now we package these up and push them into Octopus. We also push build information into Octopus from your CI server as well, so you can, you got full visibility of what happened in the build as well. Then created a release in Octopus, which I'll talk about in just a second, and then deployed that. Now I've paused this. I haven't actually done the action hasn't done the deployment. We're going to run that ourselves in Octopus. So recap: Huxley has pushed some schema changes, create a migration package in the source, GitHub Actions, same with whether it's TeamCity or Jenkins, whatever your flavor of CI is. We'll package that up and push that over into Octopus. So we come over into Octopus now. I'm going to zoom in a little. It seems a little bad viewing. But first screen that you're going to come into when you come into Octopus Deploy is the dashboard. Here, down the left-hand side, are all our applications that we're deploying, and we can see the environments that we deploy our applications to. And we get this nice, handy 10,000-foot view of what's running in what environment. The application that we're deploying today, it's a database, and it's part of the Octopub Metaverse applications, and it's Octopub database. I'm going to jump into that, and I have the release created by the build. Here we can see we've created a release called 2024-7.9.30, and typically what would happen is when we ran this action, it actually automatically kick off in Octopus. I'm going to do it manually just to show you this, and also it was just save a little bit of time. I can deploy this, now. I can choose later. I can set a priority on this deployment. But essentially, it's getting the package that we've just built and deploying this to our dev environment. Okay. And essentially, off it goes. Now I've done a couple of clicks there, but we can again take those clicks away and have the action automatically kick off the deploy to dev. And at this point, I have built a deployment process. So Octopus is going to run and migrate my Octopub database. It's doing some configuration of a database server first. It's running a couple of scripts to get the server ready. It then pulls the package from our package repository. You can use your own package repository as well. If you use something like Artifactory, you can connect Octopus into Artifactory as well. And this is a step that Huxley was kind of talking about. We can then run our Flyway migration, and then we've got a couple of steps here. One of them to email status and some of the changes that got run in the dev environment. Now I know we're short on time, so I'm going to let this kind of run through. Couple of other things just to note on this screen. We're getting all the history. So I talked about Octopus being the central place for your application deployments and your database deployments. You need to find out anything. You've got that 10,000-foot dashboard view. You've got the dashboard view for the releases for the Octopus database. Then we get all the history. We get all the changes that have happened for this particular release as well. Okay. If we take a quick look at the deployment process of how I built that. Yep, it'll load very quickly. There we go. I customize this deployment process to deploy it in any manner I choose. I'll quickly jump in because we're talking about Octopus and Flyway here. This is the step that you would use in Octopus to actually migrate the packaged migration scripts that Huxley checked into source control. And like Huxley had in Flyway Desktop, we've got all the commands here as well, so we can run these. The idea here is we've got this deployment process. We run this deployment process for dev, test, staging, production. It's going to run the same thing alongside your application deployment as well. And I know we're coming very close on time. The last thing I want to talk about here is project variables. As you deploy out to dev, test, staging, production, things change. The example I always use, whether you're deploying an application or database, your database connection string changes. Your developer probably hasn't got access. So as a developer, you probably don't have access to your production database. we can store these as variables inside Octopus. So when we're deploying to dev, it's going to use a particular value for a particular variable. When I deploy to production, it's going to use my production variable. I can change these, have a different type, whether it's a plain text. We've got some other more advanced ones here, but also sensitive as well. So I can make something and store my my passwords here in Octopus as well. If you use external secret manager as well, HashiCorp Vault, Octopus can pull those secrets in as well. I'll quickly jump back to my deployments. And we can see I've deployed that now to dev. The next stage then is to deploy that to test and production. But again, it's going to run the same migration that you're running dev in test and production. I'm going to quickly jump into this task log. We get a summary here of it all completed. We can jump into the Fly one and dig a little further and take a look at everything that was migrated as well during that deployment. Well, cool. Yes, that was a whistle-stop tour of how we finished that. If we kind of go back to the slide deck now, there we showed. If we go back, Huxley, you captured the changes in Flyway. With all the great things of Flyway. Push those changes to GitHub. We built those changes into a package, and we had Octopus run that against the dev environment. The next steps on there is to run that for test and production. We could have added an approval step in there, so when we deploy to production, add an approval step so it gets maybe a DBA approval or a release manager's approval as well.
Yep. And one of the hopefully you saw it in that demonstration, but the important thing for me, and I don't get paid by Octopus, so I'm saying this out of the kindness of my heart, not because of any other reason, but I've worked with every single CI/CD tool, and the difference I find with Octopus, Adam touched on it with the project variables, the tenant variables, the fact that we can do this automation, the fact that Flyway sat on the actual tool itself. It's the only tool that I have used that actually thinks about it as a deployment tool. You look at Azure DevOps, and it's just there to run scripts. If they don't run, good luck. You look at other builds, and again, it's just there to be host a repository and run. Octopus Deploy is designed to be user-friendly. It's designed to be there for you guys. It's got a really good GUI, and my recommendation to anybody in the last 2 years has been, if you don't have a CI/CD preference, I couldn't recommend any more that you go on something like Octopus Deploy. So we generally do. The reason me and Adam are doing this isn't because we want to be here for an hour for no reason. It's because we both genuinely believe that we are the best together. You have a question, Adam?
Sorry, in the chat. So we actually have a sample site for you to review some of these steps. So if the question is, do you want a sample to look at in Octopus? Yes, we can provide that.
The other exciting thing, if that is the question, is we have something called Octopilot coming out very soon, which is a packaged installer of everything. So it's a single Octopus file. You run it, it will install Flyway for you. It will give you a project that is pre-baked and working. It will give you steps to deploy. It's all guided, and it will drop you right in the middle of a pre-baked perfect solution. So it's not quite ready yet, Anwar, but I think what Adam said is, so if Adam can send the link to the that one, and then we've got the pilot coming out this year.
Yeah, and also can drop me an email as well, or Madalena.
I'll make sure to connect you, Adam. No worries.
Yeah, connect me. We can go a little further into Octopus as well, if that works.
Absolutely. And then maybe just to end up, because I saw the question about the recording. Yes, we are going to follow up with the recording, like Hux also answered online. So just wait for it in the next few hours. You should already receive that email. If you have any feedback or any other questions, just reply to that email, and we will be able to pick that up and share it with either the Redgate or the Octopus team, or Adam and Hux will jump together with you on a call and support you.
Yeah, and I guess more importantly as well, if anything you see here resonates, if it looks good, do reach out, because the job of me and Adam is to do exactly what we're doing here, but individually for you guys. We will do a demonstration of Octopus and Flyway, and we can show you the value. So, yeah, awesome.
Perfect. So I'll leave it for a few seconds to see if there are any other questions as well. If not, Adam, Hux, thank you so much for running this. I know that a lot of people also from the physical events would really appreciate getting the recording now. So thanks for your time and for putting this together.